We realized something was wrong with the hotel when the clerk told us not to leave the room after midnight. Even if someone knocked, even if it sounded like us. This happened during a fall road trip. My girlfriend and I were driving across several states and decided to stop for the night at a small roadside hotel. Nothing unusual. Old building, flickering neon sign, almost empty parking lot. The clerk was an elderly man. He gave us a strange look when we asked for a room. Then he said, "I'll give you a room, but if you hear knocking after midnight, don't open the door. That's not for guests." We assumed it was just weird humor. The room was old but clean. The only strange thing, the mirror beside the bed had a crack, like it had been struck from the inside. Around 11:40 p.m., we were nearly asleep when we heard someone walking in the hallway. Slow steps, like someone dragging their feet. The steps stopped at our door, then moved on. We looked at each other. Creepy, but nothing serious. But at exactly 12:07, there was a knock. 3 hits. Slow. Deliberate. We stayed silent. Then we heard a voice. Soft. Muffled. "It's me. Open up." The voice sounded like mine. My girlfriend immediately started crying. I said it had to be a prank. Maybe someone recorded my voice. Then the voice whispered again. "I know you're inside. I can see you through the mirror." We both turned toward it. And for a split second, it didn't reflect the room. It reflected the hallway. And someone was standing there, back turned to us, wearing my jacket. The knocking grew louder. The door handle slowly began to turn. Then we heard the clerk shouting somewhere in the hallway, "Don't listen to him! He can only come in if you let him!" The knocking stopped instantly. Silence. Then footsteps fading away. In the morning, we packed and rushed out. I asked the clerk what happened. He stayed quiet for a long time, then said, "Years ago, a man stayed here. He said something was following him. He didn't make it through the night." I asked, "What happened to him?" The old man looked at me and replied, "They found him in the room. He was outside the door, trying to get in." We left immediately. But on the highway, my girlfriend said she forgot something. I checked the rear-view mirror, and in the back seat, I was sitting there, watching me. We knew something was wrong with the hotel when the receptionist welcomed us back, even though we had never been there before. This happened 2 years ago during a winter road trip. My brother and I were driving through a mountain region after visiting relatives. A snowstorm hit earlier than expected, and by nightfall, visibility was almost gone. We found a hotel just off the highway. Old brick building, half the letters missing from the sign. Only one car in the lot besides ours. Inside, the lobby lights flickered like they were struggling to stay on. The receptionist smiled when we walked in. Not a normal smile. The kind people give when they recognize you. "Welcome back," she said. I laughed awkwardly and told her she must have confused us with someone else. She shook her head slowly. "No. Same room as last time?" We had never been there before. But the storm was getting worse, so we took the key anyway. Room 214. The hallway smelled old. Not dusty, just stale, like the air hadn't moved in years. When we entered the room, the heater was already on. Our bags weren't inside, but 2 towels were folded on the bed in the shape of people. My brother joked that maybe the staff was just overly prepared. Still, something felt off. Then we noticed the nightstand. There was a notebook on it. Inside were scribbles, random sentences. But one line was circled over and over. Don't fall asleep at the same time. We laughed it off, but neither of us wanted to sleep first. So we watched TV. Static. Only static. Around 1 a.m., the power flickered. That's when we heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy, stopping outside each door, one by one. Then finally, outside ours. No knock, just breathing on the other side. My brother whispered that maybe it was security, but then a voice spoke through the door. You forgot last time. We didn't answer. The voice continued. You both slept. That's why I got in. We turned off the lights and stayed silent. After a minute, the footsteps moved away. We waited another 10 minutes before speaking again. That's when my brother noticed something. The notebook on the nightstand had a new line written in it. We hadn't touched it. It now read, still making the same mistake. We decided to leave, grabbed our jackets, opened the door, and the hallway looked wrong. It was longer, much longer, and darker than before. Doors on both sides, hundreds of them, all slightly open. Inside each room, we could see shapes on the beds. People sleeping. Every face turned toward the hallway. Every single one. Eyes open, watching us. We slammed the door shut. Back inside, the bathroom light suddenly turned on by itself. In the mirror, someone had written with condensation, "You promised you'd stay awake." The TV turned on. No static now. Security footage. Our room. From above. We watched ourselves standing there. But in the footage, there was someone else in the room, standing between us. Tall, thin, completely still, watching us. The door handle began to shake violently. "You fell asleep last time. I'm just finishing it now." The lights went out. We heard something step inside the room, but we couldn't see it. My brother whispered, "Don't close your eyes." So we didn't. For what felt like hours. Just standing in the dark, staring into nothing. Until morning light finally came through the curtains. When we opened the door, the hallway was normal again. We rushed to the lobby, but there was no receptionist, no lights. Just dust everywhere. On the counter was a newspaper clipping. It was dated 1998. Headline: 2 brothers found dead in abandoned hotel. Below it was a photo of us, standing in front of the building, wearing the same clothes, the same car in the background, same snowstorm. The article said they believed we had taken shelter there, but the hotel had been closed for years. We left immediately, and we never spoke about it again. But sometimes, when I stay in hotels now, I wake up in the middle of the night, and there's a notebook on the nightstand with a single line written inside. Try not to sleep this time. We knew something was wrong with the hotel when the elevator refused to go to the lobby and instead took us to a floor that wasn't on the panel. This happened during a summer trip across the country. My girlfriend and I had been driving all day and stopped at a modern-looking business hotel near the edge of a city. Glass lobby, bright lights, everything looked normal. Check-in was fast. The receptionist barely looked at us, just handed us 2 key cards and said, "If you hear announcements at night, ignore them. It's just the system glitching." We assumed she meant the intercom. We took room 1108. The room was spotless, too spotless. No personal touches, no hotel info booklet, no phone, just the bed, TV, bathroom, and silence. Around midnight, we heard the first announcement. Soft at first, a calm, automated voice. "Attention, guests. Please remain in your rooms. The building is undergoing maintenance." We shrugged it off. 5 minutes later, another announcement. "Do not open your doors for staff unless instructed." That one felt specific. At 12:40 a.m., someone knocked on our door. 3 short knocks. We froze. Then a muffled voice. "Housekeeping?" My girlfriend whispered that housekeeping doesn't come at night. We stayed quiet. After a pause, the voice spoke again. But this time, it sounded wrong, like several voices speaking together. "We know you're awake." Footsteps walked away, but not down the hallway. Into the wall. We decided to leave, packed quickly, grabbed our bags, and headed to the elevator. Pressed L for lobby. Doors closed. The elevator started moving. But instead of going down, it went up. Past 11. Past 12, past 13. Then the display changed. No numbers, just one letter. B. The elevator stopped. Doors opened. The hallway outside was dark, not dim. Dark, like the lights were swallowed. The carpet was damp. The walls looked older than the rest of the hotel. And every door was slightly open. Inside each room, we could see beds and shapes lying in them, not moving. The elevator doors began to close. We rushed back inside and hit every button. Nothing. Then the announcement came again, this time from inside the elevator. "You have reached the guest retention level." My girlfriend whispered, "What does that mean?" The voice answered, "Some guests check out, some guests stay." The elevator lights flickered. On the mirrored wall behind us, we saw movement in the hallway. Someone was walking toward the elevator. Tall, limbs too long, head tilted sideways, dragging one hand along the walls as it approached. The doors began to open again, slowly. I slammed the close button repeatedly. The creature stopped right before the threshold, then smiled. Too wide. and whispered, "You already stayed once." The doors shut just in time. The elevator finally dropped, fast, too fast. We hit the lobby, doors opened. Everything looked normal again. Bright lights, clean floor, morning staff walking around. We rushed to the front desk and told them everything. The receptionist frowned, typed something into her computer, then looked confused. "It says you checked out yesterday morning." She turned the monitor toward us. On the screen was security footage of us walking out of the hotel the previous day, getting into our car, driving away. We insisted that was impossible. We had just arrived. She shook her head slowly and said, "You did arrive yesterday, room 1108. Then she paused. "But you never came back down." We left a hotel immediately, drove for hours, didn't stop, didn't speak. But that night, when we checked into another hotel, our keycards didn't say the new room number. They both said 1108. And at 12:40 a.m., someone knocked. 3 short knocks. And a voice through the door whispered, "Housekeeping." We realized something was wrong with the hotel when the front desk called our room at 2 a.m. to ask why we had let the other guest in. There was no other guest. This happened during a late-night drive back from a concert. My friend and I were too exhausted to keep going, so we stopped at the first hotel we saw off the highway. It wasn't abandoned. It wasn't creepy. Just one of those mid-range chain hotels that all look the same. Bright lobby, coffee machine humming, soft instrumental music playing. We checked in around 1:30 a.m. The clerk barely spoke, just handed us a key and said, "Elevator's slow tonight." That was it. Room 507. The hallway was quiet when we got there. No TVs, no voices, nothing. Inside, the room looked normal. But the bathroom light was already on, and there was a damp handprint on the mirror. We assumed housekeeping had just finished cleaning, locked the door, and tried to sleep. At exactly 2:03 a.m., the phone rang. I answered, half asleep. The clerk's voice sounded confused. "Hi, just checking. Did your guest arrive safely?" I told him it was just the two of us. He paused, then said, "You're sure?" I said yes. He muttered something like, "Must be a system error," and hung up. We shrugged it off, but neither of us fell back asleep. Around 2:20 a.m., we heard movement in the room. Not loud, just fabric shifting, like someone adjusting their position in bed, except both of us were sitting upright. I slowly turned toward the second bed. The sheets were slightly indented, like someone had just gotten up. We checked the closet. Empty. Bathroom. Empty. But when I looked back at the beds, the pillows were different. One of them had a deep imprint in the center. Still warm. My friend whispered, "Call the desk." I called. The clerk answered immediately this time. Before I could speak, he said, "Sir, please don't open your door tonight." I asked why. He hesitated, then said, "Because the guest assigned to your room checked in 20 minutes ago." I felt my stomach drop. I told him that was impossible. We were already inside. He replied quietly, "Yes, that's what worries me." We didn't sleep after that, just sat there in silence. At 3:11 a.m., there was a soft knock on the bathroom door. Not from the hallway, from inside the bathroom. 3 gentle taps. My friend whispered, "That's not possible." Then the handle moved. Slowly, the door creaked open on its own. Inside, nothing. But the mirror now had words written in condensation. I was given this room. The room phone rang again. We both jumped. I answered. This time the clerk sounded panicked. "Listen carefully. The system shows 3 guests in 507 now." I said we hadn't let anyone in. He whispered, "You didn't have to." Right then, the bathroom light switched off, and we heard someone exhale. Right behind us. We ran. Didn't pack, didn't look back. Just bolted to the lobby. The clerk looked pale when he saw us. He turned the monitor around. Security footage. Room 507. We saw ourselves inside, but also a third person, standing by the bathroom door the entire time, completely still, watching us. The timestamp showed it had been there before we even entered the room. We left immediately, didn't go back for our things. But here's the worst part. A week later, I checked my credit card statement. The hotel charged me for 3 guests, and under the itemized receipt, there was a third name listed under the room. Not mine. Not my friends. Just one word. Occupant.